This is the weekly sales meeting for July 21st, 2024. My name is Chris Fleming. You can reach me at chris@cdmediaconsulting.com or go to our website at cdmediaconsulting.com. Today's topic, trust me, I'm a doctor. For many sellers, we struggle to get long-term customers to pay a higher price per month. We struggle to get them to increase the average unit rate, and in some cases we struggle with both scenarios. Both you and the customer have become accustomed to the level of spending the relationship has produced over the years. For a lot of sellers, that magic number is $500, although in bigger cities it could be higher. For many reading this who operate in larger municipalities, that magic number could be $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,500. But whatever it is, you can be sure it is a fixed number, as if this is the be-all and end-all for every and all advertising discussions. The reason is simple. It is what we have asked for over time and trained our customers to expect. Anything that deviates from the norm strains the relationship. This is not the customer's fault. We are the ones who should shoulder the blame. We are the reason this level of investment never rises. It was something that we recommended perhaps years ago, and ever since that day we have struggled. When we acquired this customer as new, the struggle started the next day. We have wrestled with the idea of walking into a long-term relationship and reversing course. Much of that stems from a lack of confidence. It is a lack of confidence as we do not see ourselves as the experts. We don't consider ourselves to be a top-level expert in our field. As such, we feel uneasy having these kinds of uncomfortable, even awkward conversations. What makes it more uncomfortable is we must reverse course on something we recommended. We were the ones that suggested the level of spending. It is what we agreed on and our customer is currently maintaining. The risk of losing it is too great to even broach the subject, as 100% of something is better than 100% of nothing, so nothing is what we do. You can solve this issue. You can give yourself a boost of self-confidence when you commit to becoming an expert in your field. When you commit to being a doctor of solving business problems, you will be viewed in a different light. You will be taken with a bit more seriousness. You will be sought out for your knowledge and expertise. Your advice will be added to your customer's inner circle of advisors. It becomes easy to make new recommendations. It is based on new information or new findings, new products, and new methodologies. It can give you extra confidence to have the uncomfortable conversation. That is when you preface it with, "Trust me, I'm a doctor." Let's face it, your customers and your prospects have no idea what it takes to be successful selling what you sell, but you do. Your doctoral credentials are already present through that fact alone. You are the person who controls the access to the audience you represent, and you should never give up the high ground or the doctoral certification. When you are a doctor of solving business problems, your next recommendation will be your best. When that changes, you will be able to back that up with a value proposition and solid evidence. You can tell your customer why the doctor is correct and why the layperson should not be diagnosing themselves. Think about all the solid advice you have given customers over the years. Think of the campaigns you or your company have run with success. Do these not make the underpinnings of your doctoral degree? When approaching a long-term customer with the idea of change, it can be daunting, but not when you are the doctor. When you are the doctor, it's easier to change course. You have facts, knowledge, and experience on your side. You have the validation that comes from hundreds of satisfied and successful customers. That conversation goes more like this. "I know I sold you on this and told you how great it was going to be. Now I'm telling you something different. The world has changed, and we must change with it. I can see that it's going to be a challenge to wrap your arms around, but what got us here won't keep us here. As your advisor and your doctor of solving business problems, I can tell you what I gave you years ago was the correct dosage of penicillin. It was the case then, but not now." Think about what other products or services have increased in price and value over time. Think about how many have made this change in the last 3 to 5 years. The cost of running your operation has increased over the last few years, as has the cost of running your customer's business. Put it in their terms. Ask them if their overhead has gone up. Ask them if the input costs have gone up. Show them that we are all in the same boat. I'm sure your customer's business has had cost increases in fuel, personnel, rent, etc. It would be counterintuitive to think that cost increases have not kept pace in other industries. It is insanity to think that the cost of what we sell has not kept pace with the general market as well. It is more powerful when you can both arrive at this conclusion together. The conversation becomes more collaborative and less adversarial. The doctoral advice to your customers can continue like this. I am sure you would agree that the world has become more saturated with advertising messages. Because of this saturation, we need to change the prescription for your medicine. In 1998, people were bombarded with 2,500 messages daily. In 2008, that number grew to 3,500. How about in 2018? It was 5,500. Today, it's as many as 6,500 messages every day. Just like with your medicines, we must up the dosage to break through the clutter. We need you to have a louder voice in the marketplace, which means more messages and more frequency to ensure you have at least the same or better rate of success. We can no longer stay at the same level we are at if the expectation is growth. We must increase the frequency, and that recommended level is going to be X. When you are a doctor of solving business problems, you can say this. You can say it with confidence. As a doctor, you will be believed. If the value of your relationship with your customer has always been how much for how many, this will always be a hard conversation. They don't see you as a doctor. They see you as a stock trader or a commodities broker. When you are a commodities broker, your relationship is completely transactional. You cannot have believability or credibility in this conversation. When you sound like everyone else, you get treated like everyone else. If you are dealing with new business customers, you start by telling them your philosophy of doctoral practice. It sets the tone for the rest of your conversations and the rest of your relationship. You cannot start recommending solutions to problems unless you establish your credibility to do so up front. When I do it, it may sound something like this. Do you believe that what I'm about to show you has your best interest at heart? We have done extensive research into what works for our customers. What I'm about to show you is based on a model of who is having success advertising with us. If I didn't think this would benefit you, I wouldn't be showing it to you. All this is said in a calming, reassuring manner. I can do this as I have practiced this conversation over and over and have said these words thousands of times. When you say them with confidence, they have double the impact. Practice sounds like something a doctor would do. I will then continue with my philosophy of doctoral practice presentation. I will be very transparent about showing you what works and why. You expect me to say that since I'm a salesperson, but I am only successful when you are successful. So trust me when I say that advertising only fails for 3 reasons. A poor message. B, mismatching the target, and C, not enough frequency. It is 100% in our control, yours and mine, to make sure none of these things happen. Our monthly recommended investment levels are based on what our current customers are doing and where we know businesses will find success. Success in advertising rarely happens when you buy less of it. Do we agree? The last sentence is the clincher. Get your customer to agree that you are the expert, the doctor. Get them to acknowledge that there are 2 people in this conversation. One of them is the expert who does this every day. The other is the novice who spends less than 5% of their time on this topic. And because of this balance of time equation, your advice should be followed since you are the doctor. Make sure you get this acknowledgement. This agreement gives you that extra confidence to move forward. This agreement gives you permission-based authority. You now have the ultimate authority to recommend solutions from this point forward. How do you become a doctor of solving business problems? It's all the things we talk about in our training. Commit yourself to learning your craft and your customer's business space. Subscribe to their journals and trade magazines. Turn on your Google alerts and news feeds to your customer's business sector. Study what is working with your products and services. Know the latest trends and tactics that you can present to your client base. Collect client testimonials of what is working. Do this so you have peer validation you can draw on to reinforce your recommendation. Dedicate yourself to learning more about your craft every day. Practice saying the words and phrases of this advanced Ask conversation. Do this so your confidence level rises. As your confidence rises, so will your success. Believe in yourself. Believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that your solution for your customer's success is the absolute best thing you can do for them. You have looked at the competitive landscape. You have considered the customer's standing in their category. You calculated the best course of action to move forward and create a lasting impact. It is not based on what they are willing to risk, but on what it takes to cure the disease. Doctors rarely make their diagnosis based on what the customer can afford. They make it based on what is best for the patient. We must look at all of our customers the same way. Stop asking the budget question when you look to make a diagnosis. The budget question is not relevant to the problem question. What it says is you are not the expert. The customer is. That is rubbish. The person who knows the most about your product and how it can help the customer is you. When we ask the budget question, we cede control of the marketing conversation to a novice. We are holding the scalpel as the surgeon and telling the customer it is fine if they operate on themselves. The best doctors and the best lawyers understand it is never a good idea to treat yourself or represent yourself. It is best to hire an expert. First, isolate the problem. Once you have diagnosed the disease, you can begin to work on the cure. Too many times we try to do this backward. The customer tells us what they are willing to pay, and then we try to craft a solution to meet an anemic budget. This figure was arrived at by licking a finger and placing it in the air, not by asking what it takes to solve the problem. When we write a prescription for their success, it needs to be the best thing for the patient. It cannot be based solely on what they are willing to risk. When you are a doctor, you concentrate on the cure. All your efforts and recommendations are based on treating the problem at hand. That way, when your customer questions you or pushes back, you can say, "Trust me, I'm a doctor." Most people trust their doctors. It is salespeople who they have a harder time believing, and you have made the transition from seller to doctor. My new book, 21st Century Sales Success, is now available on Amazon.com. If you like what you have heard here today, please consider ordering a copy, or two. You can always send one to a friend. Go to cdmediaconsulting.com right now and follow the instructions to order.